about buttons. So you don't have very many buttons or button options in Livecode. They're pretty basic. Now they also consider, let's bring another one of these out here. They have this style thing here, and you can switch between these. And if we look at this button here in the center, you can see it changes the style. It's transparent, opaque, but they also consider a checkbox a button, and a radio thing, a radio button a button, and whatnot. So they have these styles, and you can see like this one, the rounded one, is very, very old school. This is something you would have seen in the late 90s. Though they still support something like this, it's pretty crazy. You put this on, you know, a 5x screen, and there are rumored iMacs coming out with a 5x resolution. This button would look horrible. Now they do have scale factor now in Livecode, though it's not. It doesn't really work with macOS 10. It actually works horribly, but they have it, and it's something that maybe I guess they're working on to improve, but it doesn't work very good, not yet. So as you can see, the buttons, most of the labels on the buttons are actually not aligned to the center of the button. There's not much ways you can fix that. You can kind of play around with the text formatting and screw around with the margins here to try to get it close. None of the buttons are got bold text, though you can try to, again, in the text properties, make some adjustments by making bold text. It's very basic. You can put any kind of, when you program these by editing the script, you can put pretty much anything you want. All their message handlers you type in yourself. There's a default on mouse up that comes with it, but you can put on mouse down. You can put anything they have in there. Now, so you can change the styles of the buttons. So you can make a button totally transparent. You can add icons by going to icons and borders, and here you can also remove properties. You can make it even more transparent. And actually, when it's transparent, it's still gonna, work as a button. If you go in the icons and properties, there's a couple other things you can do here by setting an icon. You can also set different styles of icons for different things. So when you click, maybe you want a different icon to show up. That's kind of neat. That's something that Xojo doesn't have out of the box in their inspector per se, though you can do it by code. So that's pretty interesting. So that's pretty simple what their button styles are. Obviously in different platforms they look a little bit different. Xojo has a few more options, especially in their Cocoa window. As you can see, we are using the Livecode that has the Cocoa window, and they are still using the very old school UI. Most of the UI that they have is not native. It is actually an emulated UI. That's one of the problems. So let's take a look at Xojo's equivalent of this just by the style of the controls here. And they have a library of items here, and these are all of Xojo's buttons. So they have a default button just like Livecode did. They have a cancel button. It's a regular push button with the word cancel in it. It really does have nothing else. Instead of saying button, it says cancel. Has the bevel button, which is a lot like the rectangular button for Livecode. They have these triangle things that they're in their buttons, and you can do these triangle things in Livecode. And then they have the segmented button. So actually, Livecode does have these. They're would be implemented a little bit differently. They wouldn't be in the little control inspector. So So let's take a look. Let's not look at these because we can already do those. A cancel button, like I said, is really just another one of these buttons with the word cancel in it. So we'll just do a run here to take a look at what they do defaultly without changing any properties. And it's a regular button, your default button, and you have segmented controls. Now, just like Livecode, there's different things, different properties you have. Now, their inspector doesn't have their full line of properties. You can actually, there's so many more properties. I'll pull up the help menu here. And we'll just look under user interface, controls, and they have bevel button is one of them. And you can see here's the events, and here's all the properties just for the bevel button alone. And here's some methods that you can use with the buttons, and they give you some information. So you have a lot of properties in here of a lot of different things you can change. Livecode has a lot of different things too you can do, but not as much as Xojo. And again, here's for the push button. And they do have something pretty interesting. They have a segment of control. And segment of control is kind of like a tab button. And you can add pictures and stuff to it. So you can edit the segments here by adding more segments. You can change the name by whatever you want. You can add an icon if you want here. You can tell which one's selected. And this works a lot like the page panel where you do like a value. You can have it so multiple items are selected or a single selection. You can change the styles from a capsule, a rounded rect, a rounded, a textured rounded, and the texture rounded is pretty interesting because you can see here it's actually kind of translucent as I go on top of other controls. So it's translucent, so that's actually what the texture rounded does. Textured squares just squares off the corners, and small squares. So let's just go to this style here. This particular button, the bevel button, has a lot of different options. I mean, this probably has the most options. You can put icons in here. You can have different alignments of the icons. You can change the caption alignments. And this works primarily the same way on all platforms. You can have it so it's a sticky button. See, toggles, sticky. So you can put this in a group and you can have that kind of properties going on. Then you have your normal button here, or this is your default button. It's very similar. The default button basically is the push button. You just change this property here, default. You have different styles in the gradient, recessed, rounded, textured, rounded rect, square, beveled, a round button, and you also can get a help button. And you can see, and you can get this to actually stick, but you gotta set a property. But that's a little bit different of the Xojo controls. Definitely are using native controls, so you get all the native platforms controls out of the box. Where Livecode, they're using very old emulated controls. And you can see the typeface here on the buttons are at the standard for the system. You can see the difference in their buttons. You can see how just the OK here, like we could change this to say OK. And you can see how bad the text is. It's really small. So we have to just maybe see if we can try to even get that to be anywhere near. Oops, we have to go to the text formatting. So, okay, that's a little closer. As you can see, it's not squared up there. It's not lined up right. So maybe try a little better. No, it's worse. You really got to screw around with the Livecode thing. You can maybe get it kind of close, but it's real hard to get it centered. You think they would have it centered out of the box. They don't. So everything is pushed up real high. So it looks really it looks sort of amateurish. Here's your tab panel. This is on their Cocoa. This is Livecode 7. You know, this is supposed to be their big Cocoa version, and their tab panel still, you can see, doesn't highlight the way it's supposed to. This is supposed to be white down here because, again, they're using emulated controls. On their native controls for Xojo, it looks the way it's supposed to look on the platform. Makes your users real happy that, you know, they're using something that looks like $1 million, you know, because a lot of people pay a lot of money for software. You know, you might be asking someone to pay $20, $30, maybe $40, $100 for your software. Do you want it to look right on the platform, make someone feel nice that they bought it? You know, because you know, stuff like this where the tab panel just is not right. I mean, you really can't ask someone to pay a lot of money for something like this. It just doesn't look right. I mean, it looks like it's thrown together. I mean, if your user interface looks like this, looks like there is a bug in it, it's going to make the customer think the whole product is nothing but bugs. I mean, it's so amateurish. I mean, how hard is it to fix this? And this tab panel has been like this for over 4 years and has not been fixed. 4 years. I mean, I've been waiting for a long time for them to fix stuff. And when you see a product like this in Xojo where they can just get the user interface, some very basic user interface stuff, and they can get it right and make it look like $1 million, there's no reason why you wouldn't use a platform that can do something right and at least make your product look as good as it actually is. This here, you might have a great product, but if it looks like this and it has controls that are so old, it's going to make the the end user really question if this is a quality product or not. And you probably programmed something that was awesome, and you know it's probably quality, but it doesn't look like quality. And a lot of people, they think, hey, it's a lemon if it looks like a lemon. You know, so this is another look into moving from Livecode to Xojo. And if you were thinking about moving from Xojo to Livecode, this is what you can expect. They have made promises since I've been using the product, and a lot of the promises are never filled. They're never actually done. Or if they are, they're not done fully, like they're not actually, like they'll actually do something, but it will not be ever finished.